All right, we're at I have a 7 o'clock on at least my laptop computer.
Mhm.
um, so let me just introduce you, Amy, and I'll open with a prayer, and then Amy's got about 20 minutes for material to offer us, and then we could open up to questions. So Amy Avery Weiss is an ordained minister in the Reformed Church of America. She has she's also a counselor. She has a master's of arts in counseling from the Methodist Theological School in Ohio, and she's licensed to practice within the state of Ohio. She's also a beloved classmate of mine in my doctoral
Hmm.
program at the Methodist Seminary. And I appreciate her doing this. So I reached out to her, and we were talking about how this is some of the ripple effects of dealing and mitigating the coronavirus has had on our mental and emotional health. And so she's going to walk us through some things to consider at this time. But let's begin with prayer. Let us pray. Blessed Jesus, in the comfort of your love, will come before you with all those who find themselves in a time of distress in dealing with all that we need to wrestle with to mitigate the coronavirus. Help us again to find calm in your constant presence and to know peace in your unfailing promise. Touch us, O Lord, and fill us with your light, for you are our hope and our salvation. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so take it away, Amy.
Well, thank you, Adam. That's really, yeah, thank you very much. I like the headset. You know, it makes you want to order fries with whatever you're doing there. There you go. So, I thank you guys. Thank you for welcoming me into your community. I'm really excited to be able to, well, not excited. It's a hard topic, but I'm excited to be able to share with you my knowledge, my information, the way things have been going for me with my clients and things like that. And it turns out to be the way we're handling the situation. I have my private practice, Amy Avery Counseling Solutions, Lewis Center and Westerville area. And right now, we're pretty full. We're really full. We're doing all of our sessions via telehealth, which is what you're seeing with me right now. This is where I do all my work right now, every day. And so what I wanted to do today was to kind of talk you through a little bit of what I'm dealing with in terms of trauma and the COVID. You've heard, I'm sure you've listened to all of the governor's messages and the topic today about opening up, and that may give a little anxiety and some other kinds of things that are going on. But the biggest thing I wanted to talk about today was there's a clinician named Bessel van der Kolk, who is pretty primary in the field of trauma work and resolving trauma. And he's where I'm going to grab a lot of notes from today. I was actually, funny thing, I was to deal with the trauma of COVID-19 like 2 days before Adam reached out to me. And I thought, okay, this is perfect. This is going to be great. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of insight into his thinking about it. This scenario of COVID-19 set us up for pre-trauma narrative in a bunch of different ways. You know, when you hit this trauma, you start to think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my people? What's going to happen to my church, to my family? What's going to happen to the economy? What's going to happen to the economy that I trust in, I need, and will fuel me? And then what's going to happen to the psychological toll of being in lockdown, the psychological toll of not being able to go anywhere and do anything, and not being able to interact with each other. So those three things really set us up for trauma. And so the way that Bessel van der Kolk talked through a few of these things, he talks through, there's about 6 or 7 experiences becoming traumatic. The first one is a lack of predictability. We don't know what we're doing. We had a day-to-day job. We had a day-to-day life, and that's just thrown out thrown out the window. We don't have the ability to plan, to do any of those kinds of things. We have to arrange our day. The second thing is a lack of movement, and immobility. We have to be able to move, to do things, and it really just kind of shuts us down when we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything. The next thing is a lack of connection, because we're humans, right? We're humans, and we do things, and when we're not seen and heard by other people, when we're not entered into a relationship with other people, we're lost. And that's just know that that's natural, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. And spacing out, that's actually a big one, because in our culture we tend to numb out, we tend to space out, we tend to do those kinds of things when stuff gets rough, and that's something I'll touch on later too. A loss of sense of time and sequence. We like to have patterns. We like to have things fall in line, and when they don't do that, when they don't fall into a rhythm, we get thrown off course. A loss of safety. When's this going to end? When is it going to be free? And that feeling of not having that safety really rocks our boat. And the loss of sense of purpose. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but that sense of purpose where, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm meant to do. Because we haven't experienced anything like this, you guys, in 100 years. 100 years. We're going back to 1918 and the flu epidemic that hit the world. It was really a pandemic that raised anxiety, because that's what pandemics do. They raise anxiety. That means different things to different people. But so it's kind of like, this has been a new thing. We haven't had anything like this hit in a really, really long. Is to really be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be kind with yourself. Follow the orders of the governor and the state's given us, but really be patient with yourself, and grieve when you need to, when you really need to. I'm going to walk you through how we combat all of those things. And please know that, like, my groups and my clients need this too. So this is a good refresher for me to kind of give them too. The first one with predictability. When we have a lack of predictability in our life, come up with something that we do. We have to plan it out. We have to write it out sometimes. We have to create a schedule. And my mom is really great about this. She lives in, well, they're living in Arizona right now, another month, because they can't fly back. And she says to me, Amy, I have one thing that I try to look forward to every day. One thing. And it's something simple. It's calling a friend. It's cleaning a room in the house. It's doing something. It's knitting a scarf or Christmas gifts. They're thinking about that stuff already. But it's kind of like creating a schedule of things to look forward to. Create a daily and weekly calendar of connections. When you're eating lunch, who are you talking to when you're eating lunch? When you're eating dinner, who are you talking to when you're eating dinner? When you make connections with that, that's really powerful stuff. You gotta have a calendar of predictability. It's really, really important. Really important. The next thing is thing that's really, really tough for a lot of us. We have to take action. We have to be able to put our bodies in motion. We have a stress hormones to move, protect, and take care of ourselves. So we're meant to cook meals together, to build houses, to gather food, to go to work, to take care of babies and children and partners and all those kinds of things. So we have to be in action around those kinds of things. We have to be in action to better ourselves, And when we're doing that, we need to learn to self-regulate as well. Self-regulate our emotions. You've got to yoga, meditation, any kinds of thoughts, breathing, keeping a journal, learning to control your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, and really, like, allowing yourself to observe and know what you know. But really, it's about, sometimes for my clients, I tell them, something is better than nothing. Something's better than nothing. So if it's a 5-minute walk, that's great. If it's taking a walk down the street, that's great. It's something rather than nothing. Really, really, in like pushing yourself to do something, especially when you don't want to. Especially when you don't want to. Connection. When he talks about connection, he talks about really, we're human beings, okay? We want to look at each other. We want to see each other in the face. We want to connect with each other. And we just can't. And so interaction with each other's minds and bodies, being in synchronicity with each other. When we cry, we want to get a response. When we laugh, we want to get a response. You know, sounds, facial movements, everything like that. So really, family meals, games, dress up, Zoom talks with your pastor, doing that kind of stuff really, really matters. It really, really matters. And really using Skype, Google, Zoom, all those kinds of things really kind of connect us. And right now, that. And so we have to take advantage of these opportunities and really, really utilize them the best we can. When it comes to numbing out versus mindfulness, numbing out versus mindfulness. Numbing out is a way that we feel alive and wall off pain. Excessive TV watching, excessive use of media, for some people, alcohol, drugs, all those kinds of things. To feel your body safely is to be in touch with yourself. If you think you're numbing out or something, is to just be aware, and to notice that within yourself, to be aware and to notice it, and to be like, something's going on here. Something's going not so right. Because if you don't notice yourself, you're like a chicken with your head cut off. You're running around, you know, in trying to make sense of things, going off and like trying to make sense of all these things. You're feeling anger, you're feeling emotional, you're feeling up and down, and all those kinds of things. It's really about slowing down. Helps if you have somebody else in your life. You know, you have somebody else in your life who can observe what's going on in you, who can say, this is what's happening. I wonder what that means. It's really about making choices, because once you can observe what's going on in you, then you can make a choice. I've got a couple of clients who have noticed, I'm all of a sudden I'm eating lots of sugar in the evening. I'm like, okay, well, what do you think that means? And about a month ago, he says, I just keep drinking, not drinking heavily, but he was like, every night at 5 o'clock, I come home from work, I have a beer. He had never done that before. He hadn't even gotten into that habit. It's really about not just mindfulness over numbness, but it's mindfulness with self-compassion. You have to have compassion or this won't work. It won't work. So it's about observing what that angry and what those angry feelings, those self-destructive things were doing. My client who recognized that he came home every night, had a couple of beers, it was serving a purpose. He works in a government job. He works for the governor. It served as a way where he could like take a step back and detach from the outcome, detach from the day. And he needed to do that, but he needed to do it healthily. He needed to do it healthfully and in a way that like served him and served his family. So it's not about noticing it with judgment, because if we notice it with judgment, we won't change. We won't change. A loss of sense of time versus having a future. A lot of times when you're traumatized, and if any of us have been traumatized by this, we really think that time stops. Okay. We feel like it's going to last forever. And it's only been a couple of months. But for those of us who have been on lockdown, it feels like it's been forever. When you're able to really stop though, and breathe and take it step by step by step, you're going to notice uncomfortable thoughts, uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable things that kind of come into your psyche, and not know what to do with them. A big thing with this though is noticing that every moment is different from the last. Every moment's different from the last. It's really, this is a big thing. It goes back to like immobility. If you can get into a practice of yoga, of meditation, of Tai Chi, of anything like that, it's really about kind of like shifting your body's perspective connection to the universe, and really kind of like checking in with yourself and kind of doing that kind of work where you're actually able to kind of see that, like, yeah, okay, yesterday is different from today. 2 days ago is different from today. 3 days ago is different from today. And things start to progress and start to move forward. Safety. We need to feel safe. We really, really, really need to feel safe. Traumatized people feel unsafe in their bodies. Constantly bombarded by visceral warning signs and all those kinds of things. They hide from their secrets. And it's really about kind of like noticing what's safe for you right now. What's safe? A lot of times, we have clients, I have clients who are, touching is important. Touching is important, even if it's holding your partner's hand, even if it's holding a loved one's hand that you're quarantined with, touching is important. And but be aware too, and I know that you probably always are, they talk about during this time, and it being a kind of a challenging thing. If you are a victim, if you're a victim, don't wait for it to get worse. And that's my only that's my only word for you right now. It's really about kind of like stepping out of the comfort zone and really kind of making it worse. Everybody, in conjunction with that, there's also this feeling of privacy. This feeling is the privacy for all. Okay, my husband and I are here tonight. We've been here tonight every night. He's downstairs playing a video game. I'm upstairs doing that. I mean, it's really kind of about having that kind of privacy sometimes, where I do my thing, you do yours. Okay, and then the last thing, even music can sometimes help give you safety. Music, whether it's listening to something from church or listening to something on your iPad or iPod, it's really kind of about listening to yourself. And the biggest thing too, in terms of purpose, skills, and goals, that you're what matters to you. What are you good at? What do you like to do? Do you like to sew masks? Do you like to do math? Do you like to garden? Do you like to do lifting things? Do you like to cooking or working or any of those kinds of things? You can help each other. You can cook meals and leave them on a porch. You can read to kids on Zoom. You can send your gifts to the world. Set up webcasts, whatever you can in this kind of environment. Culture, your religion, your professional identity is really, really important right now, because we're in the middle of an epidemic that's going to have an end date. And I really believe it will. It's just kind of about staying connected and staying close to each other in the midst of this. And I'll actually, sorry, my nose is running. These are topics that I've shared with many clients, and we've had to review them and go over them many, many times. I'll actually was using for tonight, so any of you guys can have them. But it's really, really good for you guys to be able to kind of like notice what's going on and be able to be aware of them, and know that you have a pastor who really wanted this for you. Amy Acton and Governor Mike DeWine talk about grieving this, but going through it together. And they're right. I mean, we have to kind of go through it. We don't have a choice. But we have a choice as to how we grieve and how we go through it in terms of getting on the other side. I like what they've set up in terms of looking at the long-term vision of this, the long-term plan. And I think we're headed into a good direction, but we have to go, it's kind of like to go towards it. We can't go around any of this. We have to go through it and feel it. And that's hard for a lot of people. I think that's about all. Adam, do you want me to open it up for questions?
Yes, that'd be great. I will unmute all the participants right now, so if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. Any questions on any of the topics that I had there?
I think it's good to see Lucille.
Yeah.
And one comment that you made about, using the Zoom and being in contact with other people, as one who has sort of tried to take on the idea of getting to know Zoom during this pandemic, I realize that our older folks, which are the ones that are basically alone, do not have that ability.
Right. Right.
I think that's one that she's able to be a part of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's tricky too for older people. I've got it with clients, older people that I'm sure you have in your congregation who don't have the means to be doing this kind of thing. Letters are important. Any kind of things like that, like anything you can do, but I understand that, and technology has gone beyond a lot of us in these ways. But that's a really good point, Linda. Yeah.
I think this has brought to me more of an idea of what is going on in a lot of our assisted living houses. When you talked about time, and a pattern, and a schedule, and it's very easy to have one day go into another day, and you have to say, what day is this?
Yeah. It's really tricky to do. Yeah.
And it always amazes me. You go into one of those facilities and their time is when they eat.
Yeah.
Well, I can see how that can happen.
There's a lot of social things going on there too at that eating time. It really. Yeah.
One of the things, Amy, that I've noticed in connecting it with the stages of grief is that there are days where I accept what's going on and I'm fine with it. There are days where I'm angry, and I'm just angry. There are days where I'm in denial. Is this really that bad? All these things, how can we be more self-aware of those things where, that my anger is really connected to something that I'm grieving in the midst of this, or that all these things, or that the acceptance, the denial, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think that you said it right there. It's like, how can we be more aware of, we have to stop and be mindful of it. I had the same feelings, Adam. Same feelings, whether it's like, this is crappy, this is stupid, I really actually thought it was an election thing. Like this is something crazy put on by the election, people about stupid things for this fall, but it's dumb. It's an actual virus. So it's really kind of slowing down and being mindful of this kind of thing where you're like, okay, I'm angry for today, and letting yourself be there, letting yourself feel the feelings, and no matter what you do with them, not taking them out on people you love, but really kind of letting yourself feel it. I'm just in denial. I'm denying this is happening. I'm denying it's happening. I'm going to just be ignorant and or I'm going to just ignore it, or I'm going to and really kind of having those feelings and really kind of letting yourself feel it, because the only way through grief and that kind of emotion is to process it. It really can help, and helpfully if you allow yourself to feel it. But so many people don't want to feel. They want to numb out. They want to they don't want to go to the feelings. They want to just shut that out. And so that's what keeps people stuck. So it's really important that you're able to kind of process and move on, because you don't go around emotions. You don't go around anger, around denial, around any of the, you have to go through it. And it's very, very possible to do. Very possible.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, Cindy.
My question is what to do with the fear. I mean, there are some days when it's like, okay, I am just almost paralyzed, not knowing what to believe. And it's like, I'm going to be going back to work. And it's kind of like I'm trying to just like, it's okay, you know, but there are those moments when it's like I don't want to bring it back to my loved ones. So one, because look at all the nurses and doctors that have been dealing with it for how long now, like, you know, but what, other than just kind of like trying to just snap myself out of it, what else can I do to just kind of, what's the truth, I guess. It's kind of
Cindy, I think you're doing everything correctly. And the other thing I would have you do is I would have you take a deep breath multiple times. Because honestly, like you're speaking what a lot of people are feeling when they're heading back to work next week. If you're one of those mandatory workers or important workers that have to go back, like you're speaking the truth. My husband is not a mandatory worker, but he's an essential worker. And so every time I send him out the door in the morning, I have to take a deep breath. I don't have control. I don't have control. I don't have control. And that's hard because we want control. We want control. And really being able to,
yeah, that's exactly what I want, is control.
we won't have it. We won't have it control of the virus. We won't have control over it. We won't have control. So we can regulate it by really, really breathing calm, telling ourselves, yep, I know I'm anxious. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to head into this day. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to come home. I'm going to do what I know I need to do. And you're going to live to see another day, and everybody around you will too. It's really, I know it's like self-talk, and that may sound like, oh, well, she's talking about self-talk. It really is powerful stuff. And if they don't, I remind them to do it, because it's very, very hard to not have that be a part of your repertoire. It's very, very vital to it. You're heading back to work soon?
Yes.
Yep.
Tuesday is our first big day back. So.
Yes. You're gonna have to gear up. You're gonna have to like put on that backpack of like armor and like really gear up to like breathe and be calm and say, I'm gonna make it through today. Take it one day at a time. Take it 1 hour at a time if you have to, because we have to be able to kind of process that this way. I mean, 2020 is going to be this year we look back on and think, oh my God, we made it through the worst thing in the world. But this is going to be a really, really big thing that we can make it through. Really big thing. Yeah. That's a good question, Cindy.
Thank you.
Yes.
And rest assured, I'm sure you're not the only one that feels that way.
Yes. Very much.
I can't imagine all the emotions that parents are going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of parents.
I'm looking backward on it because I'm out of that realm.
Yeah,
but I really question that.
Yeah, a few of my clients have. So they also are working from home. I've got a couple of clients who are separated and headed towards divorce, who split their kids evenly, and they trying to balance the work and I guess because the kids get stuff every day, but they're kind of like homeschooled, and so you never know what they're going to do, and you never know what they're going to get, and it's just kind of it's really, really hard. It's really hard. I feel for them. And so we stay with it and together, and we're just kind of like, okay, what are we doing today? What are we doing to be conscious and really be aware of what's going on with their kids? And that's tough. Gosh, that's tough. You're right, Linda. Yeah.
Amy, do you have some thoughts on how we can minister to like kids and particularly seniors in high school right now?
Yeah.
That won't experience the prom, graduation, and I can't imagine being at that age and being able to really process a lot of this. I'm hard enough processing it at 37, let alone at 17. So these kind of milestones, and not just for them, but for their parents and even grandparents. But how do we go about
Yeah.
kind of administering to them in this?
There's a lot of ways you can do that. I mean, like there's a couple of things going around on Facebook right now. Like what is your seniors need? What are they looking for? If they want some sort of recognition, is there some sort of Zoom you can do? Is there some sort of like celebration of clapping like in cars going by, like the parade things they do and all of that. Like there's so many things though that they're not going to get, and really grieving with them, but giving them a sense of purpose that like, a lot of these schools are going to have things later in the summer, even into the fall, and really being able to kind of like, I don't know, kind of like hold off on it and then wait, and then also doing that stuff later on, that really makes a difference too, because these kids won't forget that they didn't have this stuff. They won't forget that they didn't get to have a senior prom, they didn't get to have this and that and the other. And so it's really about kind of like making sense of it, and kind of like taking notice, making sure that they're not forgotten. I think cards and things like that are amazing. I think people who stand in their yards and do that kind of stuff is really cool. I know that they're doing a lot of things on Facebook for that, and that's obviously another technology stuff we don't need to worry about. But there's a lot of things that we can do even on our own. I'm thinking off the top of my head with graduation. I've got a client who just graduated with her social work degree, and she won't get to walk. She won't get to walk at Ohio State. And you're kind of left with nothing. Not nothing. She's got a degree, but it's hard for her, and it's just kind of like about recognizing that, and we celebrate that together, because her family won't celebrate with her. So we celebrate that together, and so you find it in the little things, knowing that this time matters. When you can kind of do that and take that ownership and leadership, Adam, that's really great, because those kids remember those things when they look back on who was there when I needed them, who was there filling in the.
And in a way, it kind of goes beyond that one too, because I know that Barb was saying that Alicia, when she was forced out of school, suddenly they just had to leave.
Yeah.
And she really didn't get to say goodbye to her classmates. It's not that she's a senior, and then the uncertainty of what's going to happen in the fall.
Yeah.
So even, it doesn't even, ones that are getting the most notoriety right now, but that also goes beyond them.
Yep.
I had a Facebook announcement the other day that the Friends of Cardington, I think it's spawned by that. The Friends of Cardington are providing an Adopt a Senior program.
That's what I was thinking about. Yep.
That was a neat idea.
That is a neat idea. Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to look into that too.
Does anybody have any other comments or questions they want to lift up?
I know this is an ongoing conversation. I know it's an ongoing way of kind of this, but it's going to be over soon. It's going to be over soon, and there's going to be hope, but we have to be patient. We have to be willing to kind of be with each other and kind of have these ways of kind of coping and hoping and really kind of helping each other through. And it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky when we can kind of get together again, but it's going to happen. It really will.
I think one of the hardest things is to put the bridle on somebody.
Yeah.
Those people that are not taking things as seriously as you would like to see them take it, and suddenly, you need to pull them back a little bit.
Yeah, it's tricky, really tricky.
One of the things we need to do too is
Right.
physically and
Right.
health habits.
Right.
I'm on the 15th anniversary of trauma that happened to my husband. And it was a 45 days in the hospital and then going into the new normal and things.
Mm-hmm.
And that anniversary just begins today.
Yeah.
This day that he first started showing symptoms and things.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time being told to make sure that you stay healthy yourself.
Yeah.
Best gift that I was given. And I made sure that I got plenty of rest, that I took care of eating properly and getting that exercise that you were talking about, and making that work into the routine.
Yeah. That's the reason they tell you to put your mask on before you help others.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of a key ingredient to kind of doing that kind of work where you can, because if you're learning to control your and really kind of like keeping yourself in sync with that, you don't go to the numbing out behaviors as much. You kind of control those things. That's great, Deb. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any other comments or questions for Amy? And Amy, you said you had some resources that you'd send along to us too?
Yeah, I'm slides I was using tonight. He has a really good website with a lot of good teaching and a lot of good stuff. A lot of the trauma work I do is based on the work of Pia Melody, Bessel van der Kolk, and John Bradshaw, a few other people like that. But he had a really good one on COVID-19, and I want to encourage you to kind of like look around. You can fish around, but I'll try to send you those slides, Adam. You can kind of disperse or whatever, and we can go from there. So that I will do that.
Yes,
right away.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time and sharing this and giving us this space to kind of hear and absorb and to process this, and space to see each other too, which is nice to see some familiar faces that I can't be around as much. So, this is great. This is great.
It's great. Great.
Thanks, Amy.
Yep. Thank you very much. And really just good luck, Cindy. You're going to be good.
I'm not the only one, so it's the whole town, so.
You will get through it.
I'm interested in knowing, Cindy, can you see everybody where you are?
If I look at my phone and kind of push things over, why?
See, I'm
Lisa? I can see you. I'm driving, so I'm doing something that I probably shouldn't be doing in the car.
Okay, Adam, did you do? Oh, we lost Harry, right? That changed. That changed the screen.
I think Harry had logged off. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn this.
You're doing really well. You're doing really well. Yep.
And I did record this meeting, so I'll try to upload this to YouTube when I get a chance as well and share it with people. So
wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, Amy, again, thank you for your time, and thank you everybody for coming and participating in this. Really appreciate this. And so take care and take care of yourselves as we're learning today. Right.
Yes.
So
bye, guys.
Take care.
Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Amy.
Yep, you bet.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.